Thank you, Senator. My next question is for a colleague on your left or right, Senator Ted Cruz. Arthur Schwartz here in Manchester is in the audience tonight. He wonders what your deal with Iran would look like.
Well, Jack, thank you very much. Thank you for allowing us to be here via satellite. We had to be here to vote to defund Planned Parenthood, and I hope very much that we see Republican leadership actually lead the fight to get it done and we stop funding Planned Parenthood. Let me answer the question you asked because it's a very important one. I believe this Obama-Iranian nuclear deal is the single gravest national security threat facing America. It is a catastrophic deal. If this deal goes through, several things will happen. First of all, roughly $100 billion, over $100 billion, will flow into Iran. Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. That money, in turn, billions of it will go on to Hamas, to Hezbollah, to the Houthis. You know, it's very interesting. I pointed out a couple of weeks ago that if this deal goes through, that the Obama administration will become the world's leading global financier of radical Islamic terrorism. In response, just last week, President Obama attacked me from Africa for saying that. He said that rhetoric was overheated. Well, let me tell you, Jack, speaking the truth is not rhetoric. The truth is, if this administration, if President Obama and Hillary Clinton and John Kerry are responsible for sending billions of dollars to Iran, and that Iran goes, those billions go to jihadists who use that money to murder Americans, to murder Israelis, to murder Europeans, then the administration is responsible. Beyond that, this deal leaves 4 American hostages languishing in Iran. We've already seen one president in the 1970s who abandoned our hostages in Iran. We shouldn't see another. And this deal accelerates Iran acquiring nuclear weapons. What should we do? I've already introduced legislation in the Senate that would reimpose sanctions, that would strengthen them, and that would lay out a clear path, a sensible path for Iran to lift sanctions, that they would disassemble all 19,000 centrifuges, they would hand over their enriched uranium, they would shut down their ICBM program, which exists for one purpose, and that is to carry a nuclear weapon to the United States of America, and they would cease being the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. Over the next 60 days, I'm going to do everything I can to mobilize and energize the American people against this catastrophic deal, because I think it is a profound threat to the safety and security of America, and we need a commander-in-chief that will defend this nation.
Senator Tom Boucher of Bedford, New Hampshire is in the audience. He asked, tell us about a time when your judgment has been tested in crisis and what you want us to appreciate about your judgment.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, serving in the United States Senate is an interesting experience. I have spoken a lot about what I call the Washington cartel. What is the Washington cartel? It's career politicians in both parties who get in bed with lobbyists, they get in bed with special interests, and they grow and grow and grow government. You know, the American people are frustrated. They're frustrated because we keep winning elections. In 2010, we won the House. In 2014, we won the Senate, and we don't have leaders who follow their commitments. And I'll tell you the sad reality. My time in the Senate, what I've tried to do more than anything else is 2 things. Tell the truth and do what I said I would do. Stand against the Washington cartel and stand for the 27 million Texans I was elected to represent. Now, when you do that, they beat the living daylights out of you. They smack you in the press. They come after you on every front. When you stand against the cartel, Democrats attack you, the mainstream media attacks you, Republicans attack you. But the only way we're going to turn this country around, stop the spending that's bankrupting our kids and grandkids, stop the abuse on our Constitution, the abuse on our liberties, is with a leader with a demonstrated history of standing up to the Washington cartel. It's not easy. But, you know, Jack, we've seen it before. We saw it in 1980. Ronald Reagan, the Reagan Revolution, with the American people at his back, stood up to the Washington cartel and turned the country around. That's what I've tried to do every day. It's what I intend to continue doing, and it's what I will do if I'm elected president.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. We'll see you in New Hampshire soon, I'm sure. Senator Marco Rubio, also joining us live from C-SPAN. Senator, good evening. Should medical marijuana be a narrowly written law, or is it okay to have conflicting laws in certain states?
I don't support the legalization of marijuana. I understand that individual states are going through the debate of its use for medicinal purposes. I know in Florida that debate's ongoing. And as long as it truly is for medicinal purposes, and even at the national level, goes through, for example, the FDA process that any other medicine would have to go through, that's something I'm willing to explore. What I do not support is the legalization of marijuana or any other additional intoxicant. This country is already paying a significant price for illegal use of drugs and even alcohol, which is legal. You talk about New Hampshire for a moment. One of the stories that has not been as reported nationally is the fact that many of the people who today that are dependent on heroin are because they became dependent on prescription opiates. And when it became difficult to acquire those prescription opiates through the pharmacy system, they unfortunately became hooked on opium and heroin in the streets as a result of it. And so I'm not in support of any additional intoxicants being legalized, something like marijuana. For medicinal purposes, if it underwent a FDA process and it was truly designed to be used as medicine, not as a way to get high, that's something I would be willing to explore.
Senator Rubio, if elected president, what would your policy be for the undocumented aliens in the United States already? Some would say we can't realistically get rid of 11.
Well, I'm glad you asked that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's right. Yes. So first of all, this is an issue that everyone agrees what we have today on immigration doesn't work for America. I don't think anyone would disagree for the most part that it needs to be fixed. But it cannot be fixed in one massive comprehensive piece of legislation. There is only one way forward on this, and it will require 3 steps, and they have to happen in the following sequence. First, we have to prove to the American people that illegal immigration is under control. It's not good enough to just say we're going to pass a law that will bring it under control. People demand to see it. They want to see the fence completed. They want to see more border agents. They want to see more drones and cameras and ground sensors. But they also recognize that over 40% of the people in this country illegally entered legally and overstayed a visa. And that's why we need an electronic verification system that employers must comply with or they will be heavily fined. And that's why we need an entry-exit biometric system at our seaports and airports so that we know when people are overstaying visas and we can identify them. That is the key that unlocks the ability to make progress on anything else when it comes to immigration. Once we have done that, the second step would be to modernize our legal immigration system. We are the most generous country in the world on immigration. We admit 1 million people a year legally to the United States, but we do so primarily on the basis of whether or not they have a relative living here. We cannot afford to do it that way anymore. In the 21st century, legal immigration must be based on merit, on what you can contribute economically, basically whether you are coming to be an American as opposed to simply live in America. Once we've done those 2 things, I believe there is a reasonable way to address the fact that you have 12 million people living in this country or more who are illegally here but have been here for a long time. And they will have to pass a background check, they will have to pay a fine, they will have to start paying taxes, they will have to learn English. And then in exchange for that, what they will get is a work permit that allows them to legally work in the United States and travel. And that's all they will have for an extended period of time. And then at some point in the future, we could have a further conversation about whether they're allowed to apply for a green card. But that is the only way forward on illegal immigration at this point in this country.
Senator, finally, how would you assess the mood or morale of America and Americans? It seems to me that we're a tired nation. The economy's not growing. The budget and the deficits are mounting. We have threats abroad. How and why is America where it's at right now, and what's the reason for it? How do we get fired up and feel good about the future for all generations of Americans?
That's actually the fundamental question of this election. This nation is at a pivotal moment in its history. The world around us is changing, and we need to decide what kind of country we will be in the 21st century. The reason why people feel so insecure in their economic lives is because our economy has rapidly changed. Today, we live in a country where the largest retailer, Amazon, doesn't own a single store, where the largest hospitality company, Airbnb, doesn't own a single hotel room, where the largest ground transportation company, Uber, doesn't even own a single car. We also live in a world that's rapidly changing. China's taking over the South China Sea. Russia's threatening the unity of Europe and NATO. Iran is on the verge of acquiring not just a nuclear weapon, but as Senator Cruz pointed out, the ability to deliver it to the United States. And radical jihadists have now spread across multiple continents across the world, and some are even located here within the United States. The result of all these changes is it makes people feel insecure because they recognize that the old ways of doing things no longer work. but no one has outlined the way forward in the 21st century. What we need now are leaders that understand this new era, that have clear ideas, as I have offered, about how to modernize our economic policies to fully benefit from all the opportunities of the new economy, and also ideas about how to restore not just American prestige in the world, but our military power, our ability to stand with our allies, and our ability to anticipate crisis before it develops and threatens the safety of our people.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that. We need to.
I want to know if any of them have received a word from God on what they should do and take care of first. Senator Cruz, start from you. Any word from God?
Well, I am blessed to receive a word from God every day and receiving the Scriptures and reading the Scriptures, and God speaks through the Bible.
Governor Kasich, same question.
I do believe in miracles. The Lord's not picking us, but because of how we respect human rights, because that we are a good force in the world, He wants America to be strong, He wants America to succeed, and He wants America to lead. And nothing's more important to me than my family, my faith, and my friends.
Governor Walker, same question.
Well, thanks, Megan. I'm certainly an imperfect man, and it's only by the blood of Jesus Christ that I've been redeemed from my sins. So I know that God doesn't call me to do a specific thing. God hasn't given me a list, the 10 commandments, if you will, of things to act on the first day. What God calls us to do is follow His will. And ultimately,
God and the veterans, which you may find to be related.
Well, first let me say I think God has blessed us. He's blessed the Republican Party with some very good candidates. The Democrats can't even find one.
Carson, question to you about God and His role, but also one of the issues that the public was very interested in, and we touched on it earlier, is race relations in this country.
And I wouldn't necessarily be broadcasting to everybody what we're going to do. It's because I'm a neurosurgeon.
Same question.
I'm proud of my dad, and I'm certainly proud of my brother.
Same question.
Put mandates on the states that we had to suck up and pay for.
Same question.
And we need brain in this country to turn it around.